Hey there everybody, Eric from Outer Limitless coming at you today with another video. Today's video is on Vargo titanium products. In front of me we have a titanium Hexagon wood stove, a titanium converter stove, and a titanium long-handled spoon. I've yet to open these up and thought today would be a good chance to get these open, take a look at them, and give you my first impressions. So first here I have the Vargo titanium Hexagon wood stove. I actually bought this on Mass Drop a little while back. You'll see that it comes in a very flat pouch. Basically, the outside of it is surrounded in hook and loop to allow me to close it. Here I slide out the stove, and it's basically a self-contained unit. What I liked about this was, first off, the flat packability that I got out of this nice, package, being all tight, flat, not too heavy. Obviously, titanium is lightweight and durable. And so I thought this, for me, would be a really good solution to take backpacking. To put this together is very, very simple. It takes about 10 seconds, literally. Has a nice little door to allow me to load fuel in when I have a pot on top. And so when I saw this, I knew it would be something that was going to be useful for me, and I was very interested in checking it out. Getting a little closer look at the construction here, you'll see that each one of these little flaps has hinges that are holding it to the one prior. These seem to be reasonably durable. I'd be curious to see over time how this holds up, but I can tell you right away, this does not feel cheap. I mean, it's titanium, it's very lightweight, but at the same time, just has sort of like a stout quality to it. Now, I think I would probably bend it if I really torqued on this too much, or if I put too much pressure on it or crushed it or something, but I mean, this is certainly going to be sturdy and capable of holding any of the pots that I'm going to bring and put on top of this to cook, so I won't have any problem from what I can tell. Taking a quick look at the bottom, you'll see the bottom is perforated. It has these hexagon holes all across the bottom, and these are standing off of the base of this just enough to give you some air space underneath the stove. So air will make it underneath just to help fuel the fire, give it the oxygen that it needs so it doesn't smother out. Now, I have watched a couple of other reviews on this, and I see people who use this door kind of like a damper as well to allow for additional airflow to make it into the firebox while this thing is heating up, and to get the appropriate amount of draw and oxygen into the fire to really get this up to temperature. And again, finally, just to reiterate the fact that this is a wood-burning stove, so the nice thing about that is, at least in terms of packability, you do not necessarily need to pack a fuel source. Obviously, if you're out on the trail or in the woods, you're able to find your own fuel. And so as long as it's not super wet, hopefully there's an abundant amount of fuel, and you'd have pretty much an endless supply. So in that regard, this is a very, very slim, light, low profile, packable solution to keep everything to a minimum. And that was partly why I wanted to get my hands on this. But there is another aspect that I'd really like to show you. So in addition to just the wood-burning stove, I got what was called a converter stove. And basically what this is another lightweight titanium stove, but this is an alcohol stove, or basically a liquid fuel stove. And then flipping it over, this has a little tray to allow you to use more of a solid fuel, maybe like a liquid gel, or like an Esbit tablet or something along those lines. I use trioxane sometimes to start a fire, but I've heard people say that in a pinch you can use it as a fuel source, so that could sit on top here. But I basically got it as a liquid fuel stove, and what this also comes with is an adapter that is very small and lightweight. It allows you to open it up into basically a triangle. It fits inside the wood stove. Let me see here. Pretty much just like that. Sits right in place, and then the alcohol stove sets down right inside. So it's a pretty nice little setup where now I have both the option to use a wood fuel source or potentially a liquid fuel source. So now not only do I have a light packable solution, but I have a little bit of redundancy and multiple options depending on what scenario I get myself into. Now, in doing my research on alcohol stoves, part of what I found was people saying that the actual alcohol stove should be about an inch beneath the pot or surface you're trying to heat. And so if you look here, what I found, and I hope you can see that, see if I can get that lined up for you. It looks like, I mean, I have basically here 9/10 of an inch. Well, maybe, yeah, just about 9/10 of an inch from the top of the stove to the actual pot stand. And so if that's the case, and they're saying an inch is what you want, I'd say this is pretty much right on target. So as I mentioned, I've never used a liquid or alcohol stove before. This is my first time trying it, and so as I'm trying to find a lightweight solution and the ability to carry my gear easier with less bulk, I also wanted that to be the case for the container that I keep the alcohol in. Now I know there are different fuels that you can use. Here I just have some denatured alcohol I thought I would use to test the stove, and what I thought I would use as a container is basically one of these bottle preforms. Now this is basically a preform, which is what is used to make soda bottles. Essentially this will be blown up into a full-size bottle, but this is what it looks like prior to actually forming a bottle. And there is a small line that I have determined to be essentially 1 fluid ounce. And so if I fill my alcohol up to this point, I know I have 1 ounce of alcohol. So at least at that point I can start to make some basic measurements and understand how much fuel this stove will actually hold. Now looking at the instructions that actually came with the converter stove, it does say to fill this with 2 ounces of fluid. So in essence, if I filled up 2 of these to the line, I would know I'd had my 2 ounces. So I'm going to try that now, fill the stove, and see if I can get this lit. Okay, so that's just a tiny bit more than 1. And I don't know, it already looks like it's full enough to me, but it said 2. So let me just do like another almost full amount here. Let's try this. So I don't know, 2 seems like a lot to me. So I had to pull the stove out real quick so you can get a feel for how full this is, but 2 ounces fills this bowl. Now I don't know if that's right or if the level should be beneath that open hole, but I'm going to give that a try and see what happens. So I'll pop this stove back inside the stand and let's get this lit up. Okay, so I thought to light this I'd just try a little fire rod. Oop, shoot. And that's gonna be a problem. I should have tried this the easy way. But like most stuff I do, I experiment the difficult way. Nothing's lit yet. Nope, nothing yet. Well, let me do this the easy way now and just get a lighter. And yes. Yes, that is going. So, let's take a closer look here. You literally can't see the flame at all, but you can kind of see the heat. I'm not sure if you can see the heat coming off of that quite yet, but it's starting. So that is lit. I think in the camera I'm seeing a little bit of blue, but I'm having a hard time picking it up with my eyes. So let's see what happens once this gets up to temperature. We'll check up in a minute. Alright, so this thing's starting to go pretty good here, and I haven't eaten lunch yet, and I got myself some Cajun chicken, a little bit of rice, and some mixed vegetables with corn and peppers and stuff. And I figured while I keep talking to you about my next product, might as well start cooking. Listen to that. Can already hear it starting to sizzle. Oh yeah, baby. Oh yeah. Alright, so the next product I have here is a Vargo titanium long-handled spoon. And you know, I find I'm trying to cook all the time around the fire, and my utensils are never quite the right length for me to do what I need to do. And I thought this long-handled spoon would be a way to make things a little bit easier for me. And so, you know, while I was in the process of buying this Vargo stove, I said, what the heck? Let's get some utensils. And I just started with the spoon. It's pretty cheap. I think I paid 10 bucks on Amazon for this. But, you know, I gotta constantly be thinking about what will make my camping and backpacking life easier, what will give me a little bit more utility, what's a nicer upgraded product. And so I thought this spoon was gonna be, whoa, a good way to go. Almost lost my lunch. I should be more careful. That was a lucky save, and I didn't get burned. Now I can tell you, this food is definitely sticking to this pan. I did put a little bit of oil in it up front just to try to prevent that, but it is sticking a little bit, so it's just something worth noting. But it seems to be cooking pretty nice, rather rapidly. The wind is causing a little bit of an effect on the flame, but nothing it can't handle, so it's definitely putting out some good heat. Doing a pretty nice job. Okay, so you've seen for the most part almost all the cooking that I've done on this. You missed about 30 seconds while I ran to grab my pot handle. And when I came out, I noticed that my food was not sizzling anymore. And lo and behold, there's no more alcohol. So I'm not sure how long that lasted, but I mean, honestly, I'd have to say that was maybe 5 minutes. So maybe not even for a full stove worth of alcohol. So that's a little bit unnerving. I'm not too happy with that, but let's fill this thing up again and see if I can get this back in action, finish up my food. All right. So I got this thing going again. And I got to tell you, I mean, if that goes that fast, and I know that took 2 ounces, which in other words was basically 2 of those vials, then, you know, right now, just to finish up my food, I'm looking at like 4 of those vials. And then on top of that, you know, that only covers me really for one part of one meal. I mean, I'm going to be chowing through the alcohol in order to cook my stuff. So this is going to take a bunch of experimentation and the need for me to really be careful and understand how much fuel I'm going to need in order to use this as a primary source, or even more dangerous, an exclusive source for cooking my food, boiling my water, you know, anything that I need in terms of my heating camp chores. So that's definitely something I need to take into consideration. Well, so alright guys, that's a first look at my Vargo titanium Hexagon wood stove and Vargo titanium converter stove. Little bonus with the Vargo titanium spoon, but you know, I'm getting kind of hungry, and this food's just about done, so I'm going to get going and have some chow. Yeah, man. So, alright guys, I hope you like what you saw. I hope you found it a little bit informative. If you like what you saw, please like, share, and subscribe. And as always, thanks for stopping by. Take care now. I'll see you soon.